When I was younger, like pretty much everybody, there were a lot of TV shows that I used to love to watch, and one of those shows was the game show Wipeout. Wipeout was birthed in 2009 and aired on ABC during the Obama presidency until he unceremoniously killed it off in 2014. It featured contestants competing for prize money on a giant obstacle course where no injuries were ever had, and it was all just fun and safe. The main enjoyment, my enjoyment, I'm pretty sure everyone's enjoyment, came from when some crazy, wacky contestant that I'm sure they coerced to being as crazy as possible would hit his head on an obstacle super hard, surely giving himself a concussion, and then it would cut to the host where they'd say something super nonchalantly like, "Ooh, that guy's collarbone popped out of his shoulders like my Pop-Tarts pop out the toaster." And then I'd be like, "Oh, that's so true, John." The courses were huge, the people competing on them were from everywhere on the spectrum across the country. The theme music was awesome. It had a little jingle every time, before the logo would show up. I guess you could call it a jingle. I used to dream of being on Wipeout, man. I used to put a big yoga ball, one of those big blue yoga balls, in between these two chairs and jump across, try to bounce like they were the big red balls in the show. Of course, I never made it, pretty much like no one in the show ever made it. When Fall Guys came out a long time ago, must have been like 1997. It was clearly inspired by Wipeout and other game shows like American Ninja Warrior, except instead of each contestant going by themselves, all the contestants were thrown in the ring together in a mad dash for the finish, grabbing each other, knocking each other into the void, where they could respawn instead of swimming to the end like in the show. I have quite a few Fall Guys videos. I played quite a bit of Fall Guys. Over time, everyone I played with stopped playing, so did I. So did pretty much everyone on the internet. When Fall Guys announced the development of a map maker creative mode, I was waiting with anticipation so I could finally create the Wipeout level of my dreams and compete for the prize money of $10 bajillion, or whatever they gave away in Wipeout. It's probably like $10,000. When the creative game mode actually came out, I didn't know it came out for like 2 weeks because pretty much nobody followed Fall Guys anymore. But to prepare for my level that I could now create once I've downloaded the update, I rewatched a ton of Wipeout videos and discovered there's actually a British version of the show hosted by this fine British gentleman right here of Top Gear fame. You can see me building the level sped up here, some sped up footage. First I started with a ramp, and then I made these slippery platforms to simulate the water that gets all over the platforms at the beginning of the game. Then I added the famous punching wall, which, is one of the actual only two real obstacles I remember. I remember the punching wall, and I remember the big balls. And then sometimes the big balls had like the motivator, which is like a big hammer that just knocks you in the water if you don't move your butt. I added some decorations to the level. I didn't really know what other obstacles to add, and while there are lots of pieces in Fall Guys that are obstacles in Wipeout, like the big wheel with the shapes in it that you jump through, most of those items are not available in creative mode. After I added this kind of turnstile part and the punching thing, I decided to add the big balls. They don't have balls, so the best I could do is these trampolines, which I probably spent about 20 minutes trying to space them far enough that you can make it, or at least that I can make it, not being that good at the game, but not close enough that it would be super easy, because pretty much no one does it. And I added conveyor belts on all the parts to simulate having to swim through the water. I know they have water, but I don't know if that's available in creative. I don't think it was. You can see a bug here with the rollers, how one of them is kind of tilted. This roller part is not in Wipeout at all. I just wanted to add it because I liked it, from one of the Fall Guys levels. Then, to make it to the end, Wipeout usually has a finish. In the classic British show, which is easier and people get less pummeled, there's a rope swing in the entire first episodes, and that's what I was watching that I originally wanted to implement, but that doesn't exist. So I decided to add this big, ramp, the seesaw, which is impossible to get up by yourself. So since Team Fall Guys has, teams and tons of people, it's really hard to get up there because everyone has to cooperate to help you up. The beginning, I thought it was too thin, so then I adjusted that, made 2 paths so that you're not just screwed if you don't spawn on the very left. I thought maybe you could add big spinning beams, but you couldn't. So then, since, you have the one entrance, you need the second entrance, second finish, if you can't make it up the seesaw with all the other people, which pretty much you're never gonna do, and I could not finish the level by myself if I didn't add the second entrance. So it's super slow to get up there, just to simulate the water, because there's a backwards conveyor belt, and there's a cannon shooting you with bouncy balls, so it's even harder to get over to the ramp. Later I decided that thing from the Fall Guys level with the rollers wasn't very cool, and wasn't Wipeout-y at all. Of course, the level doesn't look that beautiful. I could add more decorations. I could add like a whole box around the whole thing, but I thought I'd run out of budget, as you can see in the top right, and I guess I just didn't. So I decided I wanted to make that roller thing harder, so I said you can walk across this beam with the rollers instead, which is, they do have those roller type things in Wipeout and beams you walk across. So that was a little more like Wipeout than what I had before. And I found that to be too hard. So I added an alternate path where you could jump on the side on these sticks. And that's pretty much the whole level. If you got this far, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think. And here's the level in code.
Okay, let's go. Okay.
Hey, be sure to join us next week when we will have all new contestants, all new obstacles, and of course, all new wipeouts. Until then, I'm John Anderson.
And for our colleague Joe Wagner, I'm John Henson saying good night and big balls.